Give the present an historic feeling is our topic today on Luminar Coffee Break. Let's see what we can accomplish in 15 minutes or less, starting now. Hello, everyone. So what I want to do today is dive in to show you how we could take a modern image and give it an historic feeling using black and white. Now, the whole purpose of this isn't just to show you how to convert to black and white. All of you are doing that incredibly well. What this is going to show you is how to take an image and use contrast and super contrast to your advantage. All right. Now, let me show you the image I'm working with today. This is a historic image of St. Sophia Cathedral in Kyiv, Ukraine. I chose this image because a year ago this month, unfortunately, it was bombed. And this is where we as photographers, we have a responsibility to society. People that took these photos of images like this or the World Trade Center, those images are going to be with us forever. So that's why it's important that we start capturing these things. So now this particular cathedral, it was damaged, thank God, not beyond repair, but it's a beautiful, an historic landmark. What we want to do is kind of give it a more modern day approach, or I'm sorry, an historic approach on a modern image. All right. So I'm going to do this first. I'm going to come in and let me show you some of the edits that I did. All right. So the first thing I did was I did use a preset, which I'm going to go through with you on it. And then I just altered the preset to get to this direction. So I'm going to discard all the edits. So we're going to start from the beginning. I am going to start with the preset. And you know what? I'm so sorry. I do want to get rid of this. I know it's a simple thing, but it does bother me. Let me get rid of that. All right. Almost there. There we go. All right. So now that I have this image, I did download this right here from the Luminar Marketplace. Our team created the Street Monochrome presets. In fact, here it is right here. These are the assets I'm using. All right. And I'll show it up again in a moment. So here we are with it. I'm going to click on it. Now look at this. Instantly, I'm going to go over some of these. Now, I'm pretty sure I used double X raw on the original. Yep, I think, this was the one I used, but I'm actually liking this one here too. So I'm going to go back to the one I originally used just to give it as a teaching example. Now, I can just dial it back and bring it forward. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to leave it at 100%. So now that I applied it, what do I like about it? Well, I love the contrast. I love what it did. What I don't like about it is the use of the film effect, the film grain. So I don't want the film grain. So, but what's cool about presets is look at this. It's showing you how was this created. The team at Skylum, how did they do it? You're getting into their brain, into their mind on how they developed it. So I'm going to get rid of this here because I don't like the way that looks. No big deal. It's looking good, but let's come down and analyze. Here's the original. You could decide if you want to increase, let's say, the highlights. I want to dial down the highlights just a bit. Now, I did add a sky to this previously, all right? But you already know how to do that. But I did put the sky in because the sky is what's going to give us a little texture. It was just a blank sky. So here I am with black and white. Now, what did the team do differently? Well, notice what they did with the red tones. Look at this. So you can adjust. I'm going to bring it in just a little bit more. So I'm going to use the saturation is always going to be at 0. That's what's giving us black and white. If you don't, that's what's going to happen. It's the luminance is what we're going to work with. So for the red tones, I could either brighten them up, darken them. I look right about here, and then look at the yellows. So they had about 8 for the yellows. Right about there is good. Let's see what green is, probably the grass area. Oh, look at this. Oh, that's neat. I'm going to dial it back more. And then cyan. Oh, that's going to be in the sky. Let's bring it right about here. And of course, blue is going to be in the sky too. So I'm going to dial it in. So all I'm really doing right now is helping create the contrast. And magenta, there was nothing in there. All right, now we're going to add a little structure to this. So let's look at before and after. So I'll zoom in. There we go. And here we are. Look what the structure is doing. I'm going to boost the fine details in the image. There we go. Got it? Now, super contrast. It's going to help us with a lot of with some of the heavy lifting. Look at the difference. It's controlling the highlights, the midtones, and the shadows. So let's zoom out a little bit. Here's the highlights. All right, the contrast on the highlights. Look what it's doing here. It's going to bring out more of the clouds. I want to keep it here, and I can balance it. I'm going to go right about there. Good. And then, of course, we have the midtones again. And just because we can move the sliders doesn't mean you have to. But, oh, I like that right about there. Then you decide, and notice how it's starting to take shape. And then the shadows I'm going to leave as is. All right? Now, I went back up to develop. Now, here is what used to be my go-to. This is where I used to mess with the tones. So I would sharpen enrich the black tones and then bump up the white tones. But because we use super contrast, it did that for me. So the team adjusted slightly with the curves. And with the curves, look at this, I could really dial in that contrast. And then we'll finish it off. Now here's the difference between structure AI and details. Details is going to control, it's the older way of doing sharpening. It's going to let you work on the small, medium, and large details of the image. So it's giving you a more precise way of doing it. If there were a human in the scene, I don't want to use details because it's going to affect the skin. Structure AI doesn't do that. Structure AI is human aware. It doesn't make the skin look over defined or the pores jumping out. But in buildings like this sort of details is one of your best friends. All right. So normally I like to do the arrow method. I bump up here and then notice I'll move a little bit more. I try to give this like an arrow. All right. Now that went a little overboard. Look at the difference. So for this image, the team was right. I'm going to leave it back to what they had. Right about there. And by the way, if you go to a negative, then that's going to make everything soft. Positive, of course, look, you can see the difference, how it's just increasing it. But we just want just a little bit. All right, and here we are. Here's before. Here's after. Now, again, I did it, adjusting it, did the preset, applied it. Here's the thing. If I'm looking at this right now, I'm noticing, I went a little overboard down in here. So this has a little too much. So I could either have two options. I can go back to my editing here and figure out, well, where did I go overboard with this? Oh, black and white looks good. Was it structure? Nope, I bet you it was that super contrast. Yep, there it was. So super contrast is what gave me that a little bit overboard with this area here. So I have a choice here. I can continue with super contrast and try to tweak it. I can mask it and say brush, erase at a very small strength, and I can go in manually and start to erase it from there. Or why don't we try this instead? Let's just build on top of it. So I'm going to take develop, and I'm going to bump up the shadows. And yep, and there it is. Look what the shadows did for me. So the shadows help bring out the area that I didn't want, that was a little too dark, just bumping up the shadows a little bit helped it. Or I can go back with the negative, with highlights. Either way, the lesson I want to leave you with on this is you do have options. You can go all the way back and figure out which tool you got a little too aggressive with and then adjust it from there, or just keep the workflow going. Just add on to another layer. It's much like a painter when they're painting. If they add too much of a certain color, they just keep painting over it until they get the color that they want. You're doing the same thing as a digital artist, is you're looking at the image and you're applying selectively that contrast to these images. All right? So once again, here was the original, which is still a beautiful shot. And to me, I don't know, I love black and white. I just love what black and white does, especially for architecture. It just gives it that classic, historic type feeling with it. All right? And again, this was the creative assets that I used today. You can click on that link, go on to Luminar Marketplace, but once you do it, like I just did here, you can save this as your own preset. And once you save it as your own, you could call it up and do it on other images. And if you start to tweak something and you start to realize, you know what, I'm noticing I keep making the same changes to that preset, resave it again. This way you can move on. All right? Now, I have a couple announcements for you. Our good friends over at TNF. So TNF is doing a Civil War reenactment workshop, and I'll be a part of that coming up. You can check it out. It's right there. There's the link. What's really neat about this is Bart Feldman, the one who has the camera store, he created a studio outside in the woods. He has this huge lot available. He has cars, a church. He put waterfalls, you name it. And that's where we did the medieval workshop the last time. This time we're going to do a Civil War reenactment where I'm hoping they're going to tent and build like a little camp and stay there for the weekend so we can actually go in and let them stay in character, photograph them. He'll also have the old glass plate cameras available to help let people photograph what the photographer did back in the Civil War. I think that's really cool, and we have that from there. We also have our good friend Holly. So she's doing, with Hazel Meredith, she'll be part of that group, and here is her link. It's part of a special summer virtual creative summit. You're welcome to join. There's the link, and our own Holly is going to be representing Luminar Neo, working on photo restoration and a bunch of other things along with that. All right? So I hope that was helpful for everyone. Please check out Marketplace, look at some of those presets, and you can either buy them or just figure out what did they do to give you that look that you want, and then you start creating those presets, and soon you'll have a full library of them, and you'll be able to apply them to almost any situation. All right? Now, if you're here, please stick around for the Ask Me Anything segment. For everyone else, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next coffee break.